Hello and welcome to another edition of D&D Stories. I am your host Rob from the channel Performance Check, and this is the show where I regale you with tales from the hit role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons and sometimes Pathfinder, in particular about the time when something cool happened. Last time, TheWriter of Hemlon and Sayrak the Warrior Monk have recently begun working under the banner of the Star Thief Guild, allegedly an order that is devoted to help relieving the pressure on the people from an oppressive imperial regime within the land of Eldarium. TheWriter and Sayrak have gone forth and have attempted for the first time to help people in the name of the Star Thief Guild. They were instructed that when they were to perform these deeds of salvation and hope, they were to fire the Star Thief symbol into the sky using a scepter that Starthief, the man himself, had given to them. This allows the message of the guild to grow. However, on their very first attempt to help someone when there was a misunderstanding within the market district, several guards ended up dead, and TheWriter badly wounded, and Sayrak also badly wounded. Our heroes became separated. TheWriter retreated back to the Star Thief Guild, where Starthief, the man himself, the man who wears the moniker of the guild, proclaimed that really this guild is just a precursor to rebellion. Meanwhile, a desperate Sayrak, the warrior monk, had found an apothecary and was begging to be given a health potion, for he does not possess money as he's taken a vow of poverty, and he needed a health potion, and the apothecary was unwilling to part with it for nothing. After a brief exchange, the apothecary pulled a crossbow upon the monk, who had launched automatically into combat to severe results. And thus we continue with this story that does prove that good intentions do not always provide good results. This is Star Thief, Part 3. TheWriter is standing before Star Thief. He is dumbstruck. Rebellion, says TheWriter. Why? Surely that would lead to more fighting, more desperation, more suffering. And Star Thief turns, his eyes, green, brilliant eyes, suddenly cold, and he says, "There is always a price to pay for freedom. It is a price that I'm sure most will be willing to part with. We do not have the right," says TheWriter. "We do not have the right to govern people's destiny with our own actions." "Really?" says Star Thief, his green eyes seemingly boring into TheWriter's. "Did you consider this when you fought for the people in Orenthale against Dragon Then and the Sacred Dusk? Did you consider this when you stood shoulder to shoulder with that sorcerer when the Devil's Line began to rise in Ireland? No. You did what you did. You took on the weight of the responsibility required, and you were successful. Those lands now remain free. Free, I might add, but still under the reign of puppet kings, installed there by the Empire. Did the Empire help you when the necromantic forces closed in around you? Did the Empire help you when a Night Walker was birthed within the mountains of the Worm's Teeth? No. I'm afraid, TheWriter, that the powers that be in this realm are in need of change. This is a change that I offer." This was a really interesting moment in the game. It was interesting because it felt like I was just leaving this big decision on the table in front of Matt, who plays TheWriter. And TheWriter as a character can't help but agree with Star Thief. Every time there's been this dramatic situation where they have been called upon to save the realm, to save the people, they have been the ones to shoulder the responsibilities. While people in power, people that have the wealth, the people that have the military forces, seem to be unable to do so. Your display in the marketplace was ill-advised, Theodrex, Star Thief continues. There was disruption, and there was death. And in sending forth the signal of Star Thief into the sky, you have changed the way people see our order. But, in a way, this is a blessing. The people and the Empire need to understand that we are willing to do anything to ensure that our message is heard. Theodrex doesn't really know how to respond, because on the one hand, while absolutely, as I've just mentioned, he does agree with what Star Thief is saying, can't help but feel that this guy's methodology and his ideology is slightly twisted. But for now, he plays along. He says, well, what's your next move going to be? Star Thief smiles. Our plans are going to have to accelerate. The guild will have to withdraw from the public eye. We will have to continue our work from the shadows. And from the shadows, we will defend and uphold the honour and the rights of the people. Continue spreading the word of Star Thief. And when we are ready, we will change this realm for the better. Theodrex nods. Very well. Because we're working from the shadows, I assume we're still going to get paid, right? Star Thief smiles. Of course. Our benefactors remain unmoved from this little incident. Here, and he hands Theodrex a large amount of coin. This is the coin for both his and Seyrak's involvement. I understand that your friend wants no part in this transaction. My friend, says Theodrex, is missing. We were separated, and it does not matter. Star Thief interjects. I'm sure when all things are explained, Seyrak will embrace this opportunity and continue to work alongside you, Theodrex. Our vision moves across the Empirical, across the city to the apothecary known as the Brewer's Droop. Funny name, right? Seyrak is looking down in horror at the old apothecary who lies motionless on the floor. Now, to explain mechanically a bit more about what happened, when Seyrak is fighting and upholding his vow of peace, so essentially not killing people, we always assume that his attacks are non-lethal. There is sometimes a penalty that is put on those attacks depending on the situation. Mike made it very clear that he wanted to go all out full power against this shopkeeper, this apothecary, when he made these attacks. However, he did also state that he wanted it to be non-lethal, which I completely understood. He also fumbled on the third and final kick that he made against this individual. So it was difficult to work out exactly what condition this apothecary was in. We wanted to basically work out in a fair way whether Seyrak had broken his vow of peace. And I call it a vow of peace. It isn't peaceful because he's still fighting. He's just not killing. We all decided that it would be fair, very fair, that absolutely the shopkeep isn't actually dead. However, my description did denote that his neck had snapped. The amount of damage that Seyrak had incurred upon this individual within seconds was insurmountable. The apothecary, like any random NPC in a city, only has like a couple of HP, 10 at most. And Seyrak had done like 40, 50 non-lethal damage to this individual. So we decided that it was only fair that this man was not only paralyzed, but had been knocked into a coma that could potentially last many, many years beyond the old man's lifespan. So while technically not killing him has doomed him to an existence not really worth living. And those are the thoughts that are running through the monk's head as he looks down at this broken individual. And in his hand, he still clutches the health potion, the one measly health potion that he had committed this horrendous act over. The monk uncorks the potion and drinks it and looks down at the broken man. And he leaves. As Seyrak returns to the guild headquarters of Starthief, TheWriter is waiting for him in the shadows and appears. Seyrak is looking distant. He looks troubled, and TheWriter first attributes that to the horrible misunderstanding that occurred in the market district. They have a heated exchange about what occurred. TheWriter insisting that such a thing would not have happened if Seyrak had handled the situation better. And the monk doesn't argue. The monk doesn't actually put up any kind of defense for his actions whatsoever. TheWriter is looking to blame the monk and finds it all too easy to do so. Seyrak nods at these accusations and says, "This has been a trying time. When we first came to this city, I did not know I would be tested in such a way. Sometimes, TheWriter, I do wonder if my vow has what?" says TheWriter. There is another pause, as if Seyrak is performing mental gymnastics in his mind. "It is nothing," says Seyrak. "Perhaps we will speak of this further another time. For now, what do you propose we do?" TheWriter has already explained to the monk that they are now going to have to take this operation underground. They're going to have to, as Starthief put it, strike from the shadows to help the people and to put pressure upon the Empire. And Seyrak listens very carefully to these instructions and agrees. Now, as the person running this game, I am very surprised by both TheWriter and Seyrak's sort of reaction to this. Because, dear viewers, it is clear, it is very clear that while the Starthief Guild has the intention of fighting back for, the fair treatment and free will of the people, its leader, Starthief, is a very elusive, very strange, and altogether very suspicious individual. He just makes a really good argument. An argument that perhaps you could consider to be one-sided. I am very surprised when TheWriter and Seyrak decide that they're going to continue working with him. Continue working with the guild. And they do. This campaign was a fairly lengthy one. With most of the stories that I tell here, I invariably give an abridged version of the tale. Sometimes I skip moments where they have to travel great distances, or when they go on side quests, or when they go and upgrade their gear and stuff like that. But a lot of this campaign took place where the two of them were conducting sort of guerrilla warfare against the Empire. And so for a little time, they left the Empirical and began wandering and exploring the realm of Eldarium. They fought against bandit incursions and turncoat Imperials that threatened outlying settlements within the region. They fought against a giant gelatinous cube that was threatening the sacred burial site of a small society to the northeast. They fought against all kinds of different foes in the name of Starthief, and in the name of helping all within the realm. And each time they achieved one of these deeds, as usual, they took the Starthief scepter and pointed it skyward and sent that symbol high into the air. And after a number of weeks of play, I began to describe to the players, to my two friends, how their actions were beginning to change the realm, how their actions were leading the people of this place to look to that symbol in awe and wonder and hope. But every now and then there would be situations that would occur that would blemish that reputation, that would blemish the hope that was inspired by that symbol. And that began to grow more regular. And the most striking example of this is as follows. After a long time of adventuring around the realm of Eldarium, TheWriter and TheWriter have returned to the Empirical. They return and they hear word of a terrifying spree of crimes that have erupted within the streets of the city. They have learned that some form of serial killer is on the loose, spreading fear and death. TheWriter and TheWriter see this as an opportunity to once again herald their moniker, Starthief, as the fighting force that can put this terror to an end. So they begin to investigate, and they visit several sites where these murders have occurred. Each of these murders bears similarity to the last, and they all have taken place within the noble district of the Empirical. What else is that these murders happen to a single individual who is often alone, and also within the confines of their own property. These victims have always been found within their bedrooms or their studies or their living quarters, and they have been found ripped apart, sundered into many different pieces, as if some wild beast had just been set upon them. However, what is more confusing is that no signs of forced entry have been found on any of these sites. It's almost as if something has appeared within the victim's home and shredded them to pieces. The people of the city have dubbed this killer the Beast because, quite simply, like a beast, this thing has ripped its victims apart. It is harrowing to look at the scene of the crime, which TheWriter and TheWriter do under the cover of darkness. They infiltrate one of these rich homes that the victim was found in. There is a presence, a guard presence there, to ensure that no one goes in to investigate the site or see what has occurred. And they wander into this study where this rather rich individual had been set upon out of nowhere from within his own home. TheWriter is looking at the names of all the people that have fallen to this beast and draws quite a simple conclusion. They're all high-ranking members of the Imperial Court here in the city. TheWriter just raises an eyebrow. Suddenly, the two of them are bathed in golden light. They whirl about to see what the source of it is, and just for a second, within the room that is still painted with blood, it's almost like a doorway opens in reality. For a split second, a portal appears and then closes there again almost immediately. They stagger back, really confused by this sudden event. What? TheWriter says, I think we have discovered how the killer is striking within the victims' homes. Using a portal, says TheWriter. This is the time I wish Valdane was here. He'd be able to detect some kind of magic about this place. Let's wait and see if it happens again. They wait, and after a short moment, a portal opens again. This time they're ready, and they can see that there is a strange, mystical energy field beyond the portal. It appears to be moving and roiling like a storm of light. And then it closes again. They wait longer, and it happens again. They gaze through for a second. This time, Theodrex swears he spots something large with black, oily skin beyond. When he blinks and it's not there, and the portal closes again. Theodrex looks to the monk once more. When that opens again, I think we should try and enter. Seyrak is just staring at the portal. All this time, while Theodrex has been musing and thinking about this strange creature he caught a glimpse of, Seyrak has been counting the seconds between the intervals of when this thing opens and closes. The monk looks to the ranger. We will only have a brief time. Follow me as I jump. Theodrex's eyes narrow, but he trusts that the monk has some abilities that far surpass his own in terms of concentration and athleticism, so he prepares. Once again, the golden door opens, and this time our heroes are ready, and they hurl themselves at the opening. It is like they are falling through a tunnel of golden light. They see strange shards of images, as if walking through some kind of mirror realm. They fall and they plunge over and over, seeing fragments of reality all around them, until suddenly they land in a pile upon the ground in a strange place. They appear to be on a barren moor. A thick coat of mist rolls along the ground, and all around them they can see in the air sparkling lights hanging in the air and twinkling innocently. Then one of these lights opens to be one of these portals high above them, and it closes. Then another opens over here and closes. Each time one of these gaps in reality forms, they see faraway destinations and places they do not recognize. Places that do not look like this plane of existence. This is blowing their minds. This has literally come out of nowhere. There's been no sign of extra-dimensional phenomena in this campaign at all until this point. Theodrex's eyes narrow. I saw something. Through the portal I saw something. A creature with black, oily skin and powerful arms. This hulking brute has razor-sharp claws, almost 3 feet in length. It has dark, terrifying, cold-looking eyes and a mouth that is hanging open and dripping with saliva. This creature has manifested behind Seyrak the monk. And it was as Theodrex was describing it, his eyes grow in horror as he beholds an astral stalker. Now, dear viewers, if you want to do yourselves a favour this day, Google Astral Stalker 3.5 and you will see the majesty that is this creature. This is a badass looking creature, and it essentially can leap through different dimensions, and it can teleport, and it can do devastating attacks with those claws. Those are the claws that have been rendering these victims into pieces, leaving their homes splattered with blood. It is this creature that has been causing such chaos within the Empirical, and it is now this creature that is facing down our two adventurers and lunges at them. Theodrex goes for his bow to shoot over the monk's shoulder, but already the creature has vanished. Theodrex's arrow just flies into the distance. Seyrak whirls around, like as he would have been unprepared for this. It was very, very close to just slicing him right in the back. Then, out of nowhere, the Astral Stalker appears to Theodrex's left, and it opens its terrifying maw of a mouth, and from within it hurls poisonous darts from the back of its throat. 3 of them. Whoo, whoo, whoo. Theodrex is able to dodge one, block the third as he draws his sword, dropping his bow to his feet, but the third one connects with his throat. Theodrex is able to make the initial save, but still takes a fair amount of damage from this thing as it is trying to weaken him. Astral Stalkers like to weaken their prey and then strike from a position of advantage, and this creature is no different. It then hurls itself at the monk, slicing 3 times, once, twice, thrice at the monk. The monk is able to parry a few shots, but this creature's strength is insurmountable. It's slicing at Seyrak, and he's doing everything he can in his power to stop those claws from cutting his throat wide open. It's at this point one of those portals opens up directly behind the monk, and the Astral Stalker sees its advantage broaden. It hurls itself at Seyrak, grappling the monk with its superior strength, and the 2 of them tumble through the Golden Gate, tumbling through many realities and many worlds. These 2 fighting individuals smash the 9 hells out of each other as they plummet through reality. Seyrak delivers a key strike into the creature's abdomen, and it gives a howl, and it brings down its terrifyingly sharp teeth onto the side of the monk's neck. The monk gives a cry of anguish and tries to break the grapple, pummeling this creature once, twice, 3 times in the jaw. They push away from each other as they are falling, and they both appear back in the same spot they had left. Seyrak hits the ground painfully. The Astral Stalker lands above the monk and gets ready to deliver a coup de grace. As the creature raises its terrifying claws, once, twice, 3 times, it's struck in the chest by arrows. It staggers back. It looks up furiously to behold that Theodrex has picked up his bow once again and is just peppering the creature with arrows. It lunges at the ranger, striking him as it goes completely over the top of him, cutting Theodrex right across the face, who staggers back and falls over. In a moment, the creature is on him, slicing left and right. Seyrak lunges back at the Astral Stalker, delivering his fabled triple bicycle kick to the creature's side. It rolls and then falls backwards through one of these portals and appears behind Seyrak, grabbing the monk and bringing him down onto the ground with an almighty crash. Theodrex once again delivers arrow after arrow into this Astral Stalker, and it whirls about. Its terrifying eye sort of lights up at the sight of the ranger, and it begins barreling towards him and just vanishes from sight once again, hurling itself into one of these gateways that opens. But this time, Theodrex has a plan. He basically lowers himself to the point where he's basically on one knee, his arrow fully knocked, the string taut, and he waits. There is silence. Beautiful silence that seems to last for an eternity. 2 portals open, one in front of Theodrex and one behind him. And through the one behind him, the Astral Stalker looms, its giant claws raised, ready to strike the ranger down once and for all. It is then that Theodrex looses his shot. It passes through the portal. The arrow flies true, through the elemental plane of fire, over the clockwork nirvana of Mechas, and across the wondrous plains of Elysium to fly straight through another portal, straight into the back of the head of the astral stalker. The creature lets out a deathly, rattling gasp as this arrow finds its mark, and it slumps to the ground and falls through one of those portals. This, dear viewers, is the best trick shot we have ever seen in D&D. TheWriter looks surprised. He would love to absolutely take credit for such a wondrous shot, but he can't quite believe his luck. Essentially, dear viewers, Matt's idea was he was just going to fire a shot through the portal to see if it could pick up any effects from the other planes, and it did. The arrow had lit on fire from the elemental plane of fire, and we thought it was a pretty cool thing to happen if a critical hit could be rolled, and that's exactly what he did. So the astral stalker lies defeated, TheWriter's arrow embedded in the back of its skull, and him and Seyrak are now looking around, fairly wounded from this creature's onslaught, and these portals are still appearing from these dots of light. This mist seems to close in around them anytime they look to see which direction they should walk in. And that's when they hear applause. They turn to behold a figure standing watching them. TheWriter's eyes widen in horror. He recognizes this individual from over a year ago now, maybe 2. Standing in between these roiling doors of light stands Dracnus, the individual that TheWriter and Droskor had met long ago in Orenthale, the man who could switch his form between human and dragon. He smiles slyly as the Ranger makes this realization. Hello, Ranger. Long ago, I did you a service, and now I have come for the debt. And that is where we're going to leave this edition of D&D Stories. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you next time on the exciting and concluding part of this story arc. Until then, keep gaming.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the D&D Stories Facebook, Patreon, and t-shirts on Redbubble. Keep gaming!